Good afternoon, everyone. I am Professor Fazil Sharif from Pune College, Pune, and I'm your host for today. At the outset, let me welcome all of you to the last day of this faculty development program. I have a request to all the participants. Kindly mute your mic. I request all the participants to kindly mute your mic and turn off your cameras, as we will be asking you to turn it on later for a photo session. Kindly mute your mic and turn off your web cameras during the presentation. Without any further delay, I would like to start, and I request the Vice Principal and IQAC Coordinator of Pune College, Mr. Iqbal N. Sheikh, to give opening thoughts regarding the day's program. Over to you, Iqbal sir.
Thank you, Fazil sir.
Dear friends, we are on the final day of the faculty development program on the institutional benchmarking on the best practices, and on the final day the criteria 7 entitled institutional values and best practices. Dear friends, in order to be relevant in changing national and global context, every education institution has to be responsive to the emerging challenges and pressing issues. It has a social responsibility to be proactive in the efforts towards development in the larger context. This role of the institution is reflected in terms of the kinds of programs, activities, and the preferences, that is, values, that incorporates within its regular functioning. The extent to which any institution is impactful is sure reflection of its quality. Every institution has a mandate to be responsive to at least a few pressing issues such as gender equity, environmental consciousness, and the sustainability, inclusiveness, and professional ethics. But the way it addresses these and evolves practices will always be unique. Every institution faces and resolves various kinds of internal pressures and situations while doing this. Some meaningful practices pertinent to such situations are evolved within the institution, and these help smooth functioning and also to the enhanced impact. Such practices which are evolved internally by the institution, leading to the improvements in any one of the aspects of its functioning. It can be academic, can be administrative, or any organizational activity are recognized as a best practices. Over a period of time, every institution would like to for a certain of its attributes which makes it a distinct or one of its kinds. Such attributes characterizes the institution and are reflected in all of its activities in focus and practice. Friends, this criteria is mainly based on the three key indicators, named as institutional values and social responsibilities, best practices, the second key indicator, and the last one is institutional distinctiveness. Friends, our speaker will highlight you, will enrich us on these three key indicators. So on the behalf of our organizing team, I welcome all the resource persons, the participants for this final day of the workshop. Thank you. Over to you, Fazil.
Thank you, sir. And without further delay, I would like to introduce our first speaker. That is Principal Dr. Vrinda Borkar of Dhempe College of Art Science in Miramar, Goa. Dr. Vrinda, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Dr. Vrinda has served the college as faculty for 36 years. She is recognized research guide in chemistry of Goa University. She has published and presented nearly 50 papers at national, international conferences and has completed 4 research projects. Dr. Vrinda has conducted numerous industry interaction courses, skill enhancement courses, internships, outreach programs, guest lectures, national and international conferences, etc. She has worked as NAC coordinator and is nominated by NAC peer team member for accreditation. Dr. Vrinda is nominated as member on various academic bodies of Goa University, like Academic Council, Court, POS, etc., and is appointed by UGC on advisory committee of colleges awarded CPE by UGC. Dr. Vrinda, over to you, please.
Thank you. Good evening all, and thanks for the introduction. At the outset, let me congratulate all 7 institutions for collaborating and organizing a webinar of 7 days as faculty development program. We have proved that teaching learning continues even during the lockdown, and perhaps in a most efficient way. This COVID-19 has made us learn these online techniques. Let me thank the organizers for inviting me as a resource person. Institutional benchmarking of best practices. We have been listening to the speakers on benchmarking, where we are considering when you think of a benchmark, you look for the best institution. But as regards the green initiatives, we should not look at this from the NAC point of view, but beyond it. It is the duty of each and every individual to make efforts to keep the environment clean and green. As the famous saying goes, we have not inherited this earth from our ancestors, but have borrowed it from our grandchildren. Whoever has written it is really thoughtful. What type of earth are we going to give to our children? Flooded with plastic? Less number of trees? Mask on their faces? No play? No beautiful surroundings? We have to look from this perspective. So though it is all included in criteria 7 and NAC has taken care to incorporate it in SSR, let us look at it beyond criteria 7. I am going to discuss the topics: weightage in SSR of NAC in criteria 7, weightage for green initiative, green certification, and a little about carbon footprint, which we have done in our college. Let us look at the weightage. Institutional values and best practices is the title of 7th criteria, and whether it is university, autonomous college or the affiliated college, marks are 100, 100, 100. Now, amongst this, green initiatives carry a weightage of 22 marks. Let us look where we are focusing on green initiative. 7.1.2. The institution has facilities and is cautious about the energy saving and making use of alternate sources like solar, biogas, or whether you have replaced lights with LED bulbs, whether you are using power efficient equipment. So institution and the individual has to make a cautious effort in saving energy, fuel. Not only this, one has to inculcate the habit of putting off the appliances and lights when they are not required. Next comes the waste management, 7.1.3, and it is QLM. QLM means 500 words you have to write. How do you manage the waste that is generated in the institution? Are you disposing it just to the environment without processing? Or are you disposing it scientifically, whether it is solid, liquid, biomedical, whether you are sending the e-waste for recycling? What about the hazardous chemicals? You have to write in 500 words. The next comes is water. This is very important, and it is predicted that the Third World War may be fought because of water, though at present we are fighting against COVID-19. So it may be at present free or at very less price for us, but we should not make next generation die of thirst. So care should be taken to do rainwater harvesting, maintaining walls, water bodies, recycle and save water. Not allow the taps to leak. So you have to maintain if you have wells. This all is included in 7.1. Then the next one, 7.1.5, again is Q&A. Have you taken care of energy, water, waste? Then what about plastic? In our college, we have ban on plastic bottles. We see to it that the students are made aware of the plastic menace. There are projects given on microplastics. There are various guest speakers who come and talk about the menace of plastic. Then we have also the regular activity of planting trees and save tree. Then promote the use of bicycles. Don't use vehicle if you have to travel a short distance. Believe in carpool. So try to see how many of these precautions your institution takes and you as an individual follow them. So benchmark of environmental cautiousness is individual effort which will be reflected in the green initiatives of the institution. In 7.1.6, it is again Q&A. You have taken various efforts, saving energy, saving water, then regarding plastic, everything. But has any auditing agency endorsed it. Is green audit done? Energy audit done? Has your college received any awards? All this comes as QNM in 7.1.6. Now, our college is awarded Green Certificate Level 3 in 2019 by International Certification Body from UK. Now this certification actually started long back, some 6 years back, and at that time we were at level 1. Let me tell you something, that this green certification is awarded if you are creating the awareness amongst the students, staff and public, and whether you are practicing it in the institution and other places. Do you have a specific approach to develop green practices? We have the College Green Committee, Green Audit Committee, which is committed to guidelines given by the Green Global Standards. Based on that, it conducts the awareness programs for students and staff, inspiring them to play their role in maintaining green, clean environment, save energy, save water, minimize use of plastic, who in turn convey the message and inspire the other students, neighbors, relatives. Workshops on green footprint, carbon footprint, energy audit are conducted, and then it also monitors and suggests use of renewable energy, motivates research related to environment, water conservation, cleanliness drives, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and many more initiatives which lead to the green campus. Now coming to the waste management. All the campuses have these wastes: paper, plastic, glass, cotton, food waste, garden waste, biohazard and e-waste. Paper, plastic, glass, food waste is segregated at source in the separate bins. Of this, the food waste is fed to the biodigester, which generates gas and is given to the canteen. Paper is sent for recycling. Plastic and glass is given to the municipality for recycling. E-waste is given to the proper vendor for recycling. Comes the biohazardous waste. We have biotechnology department and biology departments. They decontaminate this waste using autoclave, then sealed in the plastic bags. Then again it is autoclaved, labeled as biohazard waste and handed over to the municipality for disposal. The other green initiatives. There is a compost unit in the garden, and the garden waste which is generated is used to prepare compost, and in turn it is used for gardening. Chemicals are disposed from the laboratories. They are monitored and checked whether they are neutralized and passed in the sewage. The quantity also is monitored, and it is seen to it that optimum use of chemicals is made. Noise pollution is calculated by Goa Pollution Control Board. Faculty members get PUC certificate of their vehicles. Water quality assessment is conducted every semester. Most of the tube lights are replaced by LED lights. We have fitted solar panels, and it is used to light the corridors. Then we have some students identified as green ambassadors. First, they are given the awareness regarding save water, save energy, waste segregation, then reuse, recycle, reduce use of plastic. Then they are also trained for carbon footprint calculation, energy audit, and waste management. These green ambassadors create environmental awareness amongst the students and public. And they come out with the different ideas when we are organizing some events. I have just shown here a few pictures. You may just feel that it is very normal, but from these small precautions or initiatives, it adds to the green practices. We don't allow the plastic bottles in the college. Even during the events, we give still bottles. Then if there is a release of any souvenir, we are doing it by covering it with a golden cloth, not the plastic. Our bouquets don't have the plastic. And to add, the students have become very creative. They have recycled the bottles, made beautiful bottles, and also some beautiful flowers. We many times offer this type of flowers to our guests. At the international conference, we had given the bag with the souvenir, which passes the message saying no to plastic bags. So in a small way, we try to create awareness amongst the public, students, parents, and staff. The other initiatives are, we celebrate Green Day every year. On this day, all the departments take part. They organize different events like poster competition, crossword, then poetry writing, exhibition, skit writing, and organizing wealth out of waste, quiz competitions, fancy dress competition, and so on. Throughout the day, all students participate in one or the other activity. This year on 5th of June, there were no students on the campus. However, we conducted a webinar by students on environment. The other green initiatives are Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Under this, we create awareness through road shows, skits, then door-to-door awareness regarding garbage segregation at source, distribution of cotton bags in municipality market, cleanliness drives, adopting a fort and maintaining it clean throughout the year. This is an heritage fort, and we have taken this as our college initiative. Throughout the year, the students go there and maintain it clean. The other green initiative is research. Our faculty are working on the research projects like solar energy, hybrid energy. Then students as staff are working on the projects like microplastic, dye degradation, pesticide degradation, microbial testing, then water sources. Research papers are presented by staff as well as students and published on the topics related to environmental issues and solutions. Workshops on climate change, carbon footprint, energy audit are organized. International conference was organized on the theme Application of Nanomaterials for Tackling the Environmental Issues. For this international conference, 4 different countries participants had visited Dhempe College. Renowned institutions from India also participated. There were deliberations on environmental issues and the solutions on that. Then comes the carbon footprint. Let me explain to you what we have done under carbon footprint. Before that, what is the concept? Greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide and chlorofluorocarbons. They are in Earth's atmosphere. 81% amongst the greenhouse gases is carbon dioxide. The role of these greenhouse gases is it allows the sunlight to pass through, but it prevents the heat of sunlight which has come to Earth from leaving the atmosphere. So it is very important. Otherwise, our Earth's oceans would have frozen. There would have been no life. So, greenhouse gases are required. Now, the percentage of carbon dioxide in air is 0.04%. We have to maintain this at 0.04% only. If it exceeds, it will melt the glaciers and lead to global warming because more heat of sunlight will be trapped. So carbon footprint is a measure of total amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases which are emitted due to individual or organization activity. Now I should remind you that when we plant the trees, then we are increasing the amount of oxygen and decreasing the amount of carbon dioxide. Now, CO2 emission per capita. When you see this chart, United States tops the list. That is because of their lifestyle. And India is at 1.7. However, our cities are already catching up with United States because we have adopted lifestyle of United States. So we have to make cautious effort now to bring down carbon dioxide emission. Now what are the contributing factors to carbon footprint? Power consumption, water consumption, fuel that you are using, mode of transport, food, housing, consumer durables and appliances and the waste generated. Carbon emission factor, how to calculate it, is according to the standards and guidelines given by ISO. You are converting the energy to amount of carbon dioxide by those calculations. Now let me take it in a very simple way. This is the chart which we give to the students. Energy consumption calculation. This is to calculate your electricity bill. Very simple thing. So each and every device in your house, multiply it by the number of hours it is used per day. That gives you watt hours per day. Divided by 1000, it converts to kilowatt hour per day. 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 1 unit of your meter. So add all of your all appliances, multiply it by 30 days, multiply by charges per unit. That is your electricity bill amount. When we give this chart, the student obviously knows what is the wattage of, say, grinder, mixer, your washing machine, dryer, and all the appliances in the house. When they calculate the bill amount, they can tally with actual bill amount and check whether there is any fault in it. And when they are calculating it, subconsciously they are made aware that if you are using AC, put it off when you are not there. When you are using any of the appliances and when they are not in use, why to waste energy? So in order to inculcate the awareness of don't waste electrical energy, we have taken this initiative. Not only this, recently we had started a hashtag lockdown learning on social media under hashtag Dhempe College Outreach. In this, we had given this chart to public because they were free. Just calculate your bill amount and be aware about the weightages of all the devices. So many people appreciated this effort of ours. Then the carbon footprint regarding the house and waste. If you have a cement concrete house, it gives the emission factor 2.5, mud house 0.1. However, in your house there are 4 or 5 people staying, then it is divided by according to the number of people staying in that house. So emission factor decreases when you are sharing the premises. Then comes the waste. If you see there, highest is emission factor is because of the plastic. So again, we have to see to it less use of plastic and recycle plastic. Then comes your consumer durables and appliances. Here you will find that car, dishwasher, air conditioner, these are giving enough emission factor. So when you are using them, see to it that you are not wasting fuel or energy. Secondly, I should add here that carbon footprint and emission factor also increases if you are very frequently changing your mobiles, changing your cars, changing your laptops or changing any appliances. More the number of years you are using it, your carbon footprint decreases. I have taken here very few examples. It includes also the furniture that you are using. Also the clothes that you are using. If you are recycling your clothes, your carbon footprint decreases. Then comes the mode of transport. Aeroplane 285 carbon emission factor. Car is 158. However, if you are sharing the same car, it decreases to 55 emission factor. If you travel by train, you will find that it is minimum, that is 14 only. Why? Because many passengers travel in train. So, remember one thing, when you are sharing, whether it is transport, your vehicle or house or appliance, your carbon footprint decreases. Then comes the food items. Here I have just listed the emission factors. I am focusing here on the chilled products. The chilled products, especially the aerated soft drinks, they don't add much to the nutritive value. However, they add a lot to the emission factor. So, how to reduce the carbon footprint? The important thing, plant tree, save tree. So you all know that carbon dioxide is taken by the trees and oxygen is given out, which we breathe in. So that is one way of reducing the carbon dioxide. Then replace all the fluorescent or CFL bulbs by LED. Calculate energy consumed and try to lower it by conducting regular energy audit. Use of renewable energy sources on the campus. Conserve water and save water. Recycle water if possible. Reuse, recycle plastic, paper, clothes, e-waste, glass, metal. Do carpooling. Avoid using vehicle for short distance travel. use public transport. These are the few points which I have listed. The moment you make a cautious effort, you will realize your list will be quite long, not only 6 or 7 points. So, all of us have to make a cautious effort of keeping our environment clean and green. That is the gift for our next generation. And let me tell you, we have seen our recent experience during the lockdown is many of our water bodies became clean during the lockdown. So it means that human beings are creating a lot of pollution, and global carbon emission dropped to 17% due to lockdown. So let us think on green initiative, of course from criteria 7 point of view, as well as also that it is our responsibility. So the last slide. These are photographs clicked by our students for a photography competition. Capture flowers, plants, insects or birds on the campus. These are a few photographs amongst them. At last, I would like to say to all the participants that it is the attitude and concern of staff that is important for green initiative, and that is our benchmarking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a wonderful insight by Dr. Borkar.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And again, I would say, in my presentation, I have added only the things which are doable to any of the college. Because what I feel that FDP, in case of best practices, one should feel that each and every college or each and every individual should feel that I can do it. And so I have listed the green initiatives which we have taken in our college by each and every teacher, and they are doable by everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, and thank you for those wonderful insights. Moving on to our second speaker of the day, allow me to introduce Dr. Pushpinder Bhatia. Dr. Pushpinder Bhatia, a Fulbright Nehru Fellow, is the principal of Guru Nanak College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Mumbai. She completed her post-graduation in physics and a doctoral work in magnetic materials from the University of Mumbai. Her postdoctoral work in biophysics is in progress. She worked in various capacities and held important positions such as Director of Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Nodal Officer of Community College, Coordinator of the STAR program of MHRD in Science. She's on the editorial board of 2 international journals, devoted to science research, and is the managing committee member of National Center for Science Communicators. She's authored over 20 research articles and 2 books. She is now actively involved in an international project devoted to skill development in higher education and is a regular speaker at conferences and seminars. She will be speaking on evolution of best practices. Over to you, Dr. Pushpinder.
Thank you, Professor Sharif.
Okay, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you very clearly.
Yeah. Very, very good evening to all, and I congratulate the organizing committee of this faculty development program, which I feel is more than development. I think it's also a leadership program. That's the reason I chose to speak about evolution of a best practice. In the last 6 days, we have been exposed to various practices, good practices, healthy practices, best practices in every criterion. And of course, since the criterion number 7 is devoted to institutional best practices also, along with the other gender sensitivity, your environment sensitivity, which are the key indicators, I thought it would be nice to speak about how a best practice has to be evolved. And since there are so many young faculty members who are academic leaders in their own right, who will be expected to rephrase, re-articulate visions of their own colleges and institutions, behind a best practice, the philosophy behind a best practice, and how it should evolve. I will just start with the basic definition of a best practice. And it could be quite ironical that after all this talk on best practices, why should we begin with that? The term best practice has been used to describe what works in a particular situation or environment. And whenever any practice is supported by its success in terms of data, in terms it gets established, and then just thought that let's research a little on this best practice. Best practices have been a very common feature of in the industry, where you have measurable targets, where you can quantify achievements. How does one quantify, assess success in education? Now, what does a best practice do? First of all, let us see as to what a best practice does. A best practice obviously guides the prioritization and decision-making processes of the institution, and it makes a meaningful contribution to quality enhancement. As you can see in the small figure that I have just lifted from the internet, to the left side, you can see the drivers of a best practice. That is to develop, to strategize, to put in the required skills, which will give us outputs such as quality, solution, and success. Quality in its own right is quite immeasurable. They say that quality is only measured and assessed by its absence. So that in itself is another challenge. Well, in 1996, the Commonwealth Higher Education Management Service, KEMS, launched an international university management benchmarking club for universities from the Commonwealth. This reference, this I have got from a paper written by the very, very illustrious Dr. Prasad in one of his papers, which is also a part of the best practices manual released by NAC. Now, the KEMS approach to benchmarking. Now, what does benchmarking do? We have spoken a lot about benchmarking. How does one set a benchmark when there is no external benchmark available? The identification, if you see, these steps are listed on the slide. One is, of course, the identification of the aspects and processes that you need to address. 2, you have to understand your strengths and weaknesses in the institution. 3, you have to combine them to create a kind of a composite model which encompasses, which includes various departments, various forces within the institution that have to work to make it happen. And then, of course, there has to be a lot of discussion. There has to be a lot of mindstorming to arrive at a consensus as to what could be the best practice for an institution. Now, this you can do when there are no established benchmarks. Most of the times we have seen that we have established benchmarks outside the institution, which we choose to pick up and adopt. Now, what is the best? Now, in a best practice, the purpose and intent, what is the best practice benchmarking? What is the purpose behind it? One, it develops an understanding of the fundamentals that lead to success within the institution. We get an understanding as to what core values, what fundamental properties and features we must have to ensure that we overcome a problem or an issue which needs to be addressed. Focus on continuous improvement. Of course, benchmarking helps us to keep improving and bring about overall change, which closes the gap between an existing practice. So if we have a practice, we have a benchmark, our aim is to close the gap between the two, and one has to constantly move towards it. That's the reason we want to benchmark. And as I said, benchmarking could be from within or without. Now, there are certain red flags which cannot be ignored when you set out to identify a best practice, you set out to create a benchmark. One, what works for another institution might not work for yours. Two, please understand most past best practices are past practices. With due apologies to all, and of course in my own institution, many a time we of course pick up best practices which have been there, and of course there is no harm because these are established best practices and one could always pick them up. But most best practices in any institution need not be past practices. And of course the danger of the copy paste culture which is there. Why is it so easy to pick up established best practices? As this image says, since everybody is doing it, let me do it. And if they have not faced a problem, I will not face a problem. And it conforms with the norms and it has complied with the authorities. So it has to be the right thing to do. And so basically, I think just picking up a best practice from anywhere is being in your comfort zones. And I implore upon the young leaders that we have to come out of these comfort zones and build unique practices which are beneficial to our institution, which are customized to the needs of our own institution and our colleges and universities. This is a graph which I picked up again from one of the papers which has been published, and the performance in red of a company that blindly follows a best practice and applies it. If you see, its optimum performance goes on decaying because when you blindly copy other best practices, somewhere you are moving away from your own unique vision. And as we know that, the criterion 7, I think the key question in criterion 7 is the question on distinctiveness. What makes my institute different from the other? And if one can address that with any one best practice, which is unique to us, I think we would have achieved a lot, because once I have clarity, I have a vision, and I know how distinctive my institute is and how distinctive I make it appear to the outside world. I think that is going to be the hallmark of a good institute. And students who are our end users, they are the consumers of this industry of education, we would be doing justice to them if we understand the unique needs of our own institution. Now, how do I go about these establishing a best practice in my institution? If I don't want to blindly follow it, I have a group of people, and when we sit down, what do we do? These are some of the steps which I have listed. You could customize it, you could modify it according to your vision or your requirement and the way you function. But I think the first step definitely is going to be identification of your biggest problem. What is my biggest problem in the institute? Which is my weakness, which is also a great opportunity. 2, identify the root cause. 3, come up with hypotheses, come up with solutions on paper. implement and test. Of course, implementing and testing will require many other forces to get together. At times, we would need to train staff. We would need to have some infrastructural inputs. And the last important word is articulate. I think if we can articulate a best practice in the best possible way, we have achieved what we set out to do. Unless we articulate it, unless we speak about it as a story of the institution, the passion and the energy is missing. So if we do not want to blindly follow best practices, these are the steps we have to set out to do. As I told you, the most important question, I think by far the most important question in the SSR format itself, I feel, is this question. Explain the performance of an institution in one area distinctive to its vision. So I think institutional distinctiveness is the most important parameter. Once you start thinking, keeping the distinctiveness of your institution in mind, so many things fall in place. For criterion 7, there are these criterion statements that are often spoken of. And one of these, of course, is social responsibility, good citizenry. Professor Vrinda, who spoke before me, gave a lovely, beautiful presentation on environment sensitivity building in our students and in our colleges. So sensitivity in the criterion statements, please focus on the words like sensitivity, creativity, innovation, quality management strategies, value-based education, social responsibility, and good citizenry. I think these are all the key words and the key indicators that we are expected to focus upon. I thought it would be a good idea to pick up one case study to put across what I have spoken of so far. Now, there is one case study which is reported in the Anthology of Best Practices in Teaching Education, which is again published by Nanak. And the one interesting best practice that I read a few days ago was the use of mobile phone technology for student support. I will devote the next few slides to this best practice, and you will see the journey as to how the best practice was evolved and how these steps of identification, problem solving, hypotheses, and the final impact, and how they have articulated it so well. So I will just take you through these couple of slides. Please bear with me. The institution is the University of Pretoria, which was established in 1908. It has over 51,000 students, and it opened its unit of distance education in 2002. So this is the University of Pretoria in South Africa. It offers 2 UG programs and 1 PG program, and it caters basically to students in rural communities. In 2006, which is a year, please, which you have to remember, in 2006 they enrolled over 10,000 students to these PG and UG programs. Now, in that very year, there was a survey in South Africa which said that 98% of the students have mobile phones, and 71% of urban and rural populations had mobile connectivity. Now, this is 2006. We do not, in that period, there was no internet connectivity to the mobile phones. There was it was just mobile phone connectivity. So you could SMS people, and probably you could send a voice note or something like that. I mean, there was nothing beyond that. Now, if you see the institution, that background which is given to you on the slide, the need and context, as I told you, the context is that more than 98% of the students possessed mobile phones. Now, all the material for the learning through distance mode used to be delivered through print material. That is, notes would be just posted to these students. Now, but then the dropout rate was very, very high. We'll come to it later on in the impact. and the success of the distance education unit itself was under a question mark. Now, what the University of Pretoria did was they started with SMS. They called it the SMS push-pull interactive system of practice. The push-pull interactive best practice in the University of Pretoria was launched in 2006. Now, what does push mean? Push means send general administrative messages in bulk to the students. Now, whenever printed material would be posted to a student, an SMS would be, he would receive an SMS, then the student could, so this was considered as pushing. And the dates, important assignment dates, everything would be communicated through an SMS. This was way back in 2006. They called it the push technique. The pull technique consisted of students reverting to the university through various questions and doubts which they had. Interactive was students could, the SMS that could direct students to their learning materials to support them on the completion of assignments. SMS multiple choice quizzes. So multiple choice quizzes were also SMS to them, and audio messages were sent to them. So mini lectures were communicated to these students. So they called it the push-pull interactive best practice. This is what I meant when I spoke about articulation. How do we articulate a best practice? Again, now to implement any best practice, you need resources. So these are the resources. You could just go through the slide. The university negotiated a deal with the service provider, bulk SMSs were sent, and of course, some administrative staff had to be trained as well. So these are the resources, these are the requirements that you need to start or to launch a practice before you can call it a best practice. Obviously, there will be disadvantages. This system also had its own set of disadvantages. Phone could be switched off, student would not read the message, etc., etc. Now, the advantages, there were many advantages, however, which we have listed in the slide, and which are again reported by the university in their manual. They are immediate, they serve as instant messages, they are received by a student as a personal message. So this is where the push comes in. When a student, they felt that when a student in distance mode received a message, it was a push which he received. They carry an image of authority and importance. Students tend to take messages seriously. Students react almost immediately if requested to do a specific task. And of course, they are by far the cheapest way of communication. Even at that time, they felt that sending an SMS was much cheaper vis-a-vis sending letters, registered posts, which we realize even today in our own systems. So these were the numerous advantages which clearly outweigh the disadvantages. Most important part of any practice is gauging the impact. And as you can see, the impact is very, very loud and clear. Completion or throughput rate increased from 60% to 60% from 37%. So where the dropout rate was over 60%, now the throughput rate came to a good 60%. Measurable improvements in administration were recorded, which we know now that we are in the stage of digitalization. It also contributed to more efficient interactivity with students at lower cost in comparison with print communication. So as you can see, this was the story of University of Pretoria, which started with few resources. They identified the problem first. They kept an alert eye to understand what could be done to overcome these problems. They gathered their resources. They got their act together. They trained their staff. They used technology and established this as a practice, which is now one of the best practices in the field of higher education. So this is one example which I wanted to share with you. Now the next slide is, I have just tried to list a few practices, and the question which I want to ask Is it a best practice? Could it be one of your best practices? If you see, there are things like e-management, women empowerment, reach out to the unreached. Reach out to the unreached, I will speak of in my next slide. Value education or heartfulness, undergraduate research. Now, undergraduate research is also a very popular best practice. It is now picked up everywhere. But again, undergraduate research, see, like I said, what suits one may not suit the other. So we have to see the profile of our students, the demographics of our own institutions, and then understand what practice could be my best practice, because a best practice has to have a wide impact. So that is very important. Industry academia linkage, alumni connect, power of pen. Now, power of pen is the slogan of the University of Pennsylvania. Now, you could say that it's something very adventurous, but the University of Pennsylvania depends on alumni funding to run the university. So they have a whole machinery which works, and they call this whole program the power of pen. So that is one of, it's among, I think, the top best practices of universities anywhere in the world. And they have, how do they do this? They have an excellent system of connect, where every student who leaves the campus is tracked through this alumni committee or the alumni machinery which is working. In fact, when I was there a few months ago, they have a staff of over 500 which only works on the power of pen. So this is just to share with you that, you know, something like this also is there. Maintenance of equipment, Wi-Fi in the college, all these things. NSS activities. At times I have come across some best practice, some institutions which speak of and some NSS activities as their best practice. I leave it to you to judge whether it is really a best practice. I mean, on its own, it could be part of a larger practice, a larger philosophy that you want to build for your institution. Financial aid to students. Again, financial aid to students on its own cannot classify as a best practice. It could be part of, like our institute, our college, we have one of our mottos, one of our guiding principles is education for all, or inclusive education, access to education. In that, as part of that vision, as part of that practice, I could put financial aid, I could put earn and learn, I could add things like health checkups for these students to reduce the dropout rate, some skill development, all that could be done. So I just listed these examples because I have seen them as best practices in so many of the institutions. Midday meal, of course, they are good practices and they are healthy practices in their own right. But when we talk about a best practice, please understand, a best practice has to be a best practice. So if that's your best, it has to speak about the institution. Coming to one best practice, which I just spoke about in the last slide, reach out to the unreached. Now, this best practice has a short story. There is a college in rural Maharashtra, and I happen to be associated with that college. Now, when I was working, I was discussing a few things with them when I went for one of their audits. What we came across was that the various things on the periphery in the slide, hospital collaboration, PM Suraksha Yojana, administrative assistance to unorganized sector, all these things were being done in a scattered manner. So what we did was, we sat down and we listed all these other things which were being done besides teaching. We used the bottoms-up approach, and we wanted to show that it culminated into something, because obviously all these things were working towards a common goal, which was not just to help the students in the college. That was, of course, one aspect, but also to work for character building of these students when they worked through extension activities in the community. So because it's a rural college and one of its kind in an area where there are no other colleges. So we decided that one best practice could be that all these activities are aimed at not just the betterment of the college, but the betterment of the community around it. So what we did was we combined all these activities and we wrote a story around it. I mean, you would hear the word story from me very often but I think any institution journey is a story in itself. So we wove a kind of a story around it where we said that yes, one, since the female demographic, the female population in the college outnumbered the number of boy students, female health camps were conducted. They saw that many girls could not attend the college because of health issues, weakness issues. They had to travel long distances. So there were health camps and treatment of and anemia was treated, which was already being done. PM Suraksha Yojana, there is an insurance policy which they have taken for all the students. These are little things, I think, which we all do. Administrative assistance was given to the unorganized sector around the college. There are so many farmers who were below the poverty line. There were so many welfare schemes that they did not know about. And the college NSS unit, the college extension units, they were visiting the people around the college or the natives who live there and helped them. Then one very unique thing, one of their language departments would send students to the banks, post office, where they would, as a weekly project, they would go and translate official documents for the common man, for the users. A girls' hostel was already in place through the UGC funding. There was a certificate in food processing for the local fruit growers, mangoes and kokum and all the other things which are grown there. And the certificate course was always on. So we combined all this, we articulated it, we wrote it as a big, long best practice. And the impact was very, very wide. The impact was not just college, it was the community, it was the people of the area, of that rural community in which the college is located. So this is one example of how one could one could evolve a best practice for one's institution when we are doing so many things. But of course, one has to brainstorm, one has to think, and one has to indulge in a group dialogue where you can build upon these inputs. The second example that I want to speak about is value education in an urban college. Now, my college itself is located in urban Mumbai, and we are working on this. Now, this I could call it the top-down approach, because since we are located in urban Mumbai, and the profile of my students, to tell you a little about the context of this best practice, my students are mostly from the slums, because Mumbai, of course, we are located in the heart of Mumbai, but the profile of our students is financially challenged, and academically also they are not the high achievers. So most of our students come from that category. So we realized over a period of so many years that as the gap between the haves and the have-nots is increasing in society, these students are facing many mental health issues. They are, in fact, their performance, academic performance also is one affected because of their health issue, their emotional issues. They cannot cope with the stresses. They have so many other problems just because of the strata of society from which they come. Now, how does one change that? One has to impress upon the students' mental health. Now, of course, we have a counselor, we have a health doctor on the premises once a week, they come. And the number of students going to the counselors also was large. And from the counselors, we would get a feedback that so many of these students have so many emotional issues because of which they're not able to perform well. And of course, in future also, they could pass, but they could end up leading very incomplete lives. So as an institution, it was our duty and responsibility to address that. So once we realized that problem, we came up with these various programs, which you can see on the slide. Meditation is a is a permanent compulsory thing that we have started since the last 6 months. In fact, we have installed infrastructural support is required, as I told you, for any practice. We have installed a PAS where after every 2 hours, we have a 5-minute meditation session for the students. We have introduced values and talking about integrity, honesty, happiness, well-being in most of our performing fine literary art activities. We give them themes, and we conducted that in the last 6 months. This process, of course, is on, and the students, and through our extension activities, through the values lab, we have created a small values lab in the college where students can just go and pick up some good books related to happiness, to well-being. Please understand that most of the major universities, the well-known universities in the world now speak of good mental health. And I think, as we all know, that the next big challenge for higher education is going to be to address the heart. As we always say, the head and the hand is trained now, and we are working towards that. What about the heart? So we realized that in my college, and we have introduced value education as one of our best practices. Again, this is an example of a top-down approach where we identified the problem, and we have again made a case of this whole thing. This is a slide I just saw, which I thought is very contemporary. 10 best practices for teaching with digital content. So you could just see it and, maybe absorb it, develop a learning community, have an instructional purpose, preview all content, scaffold understanding, plan for interaction, incorporate digital age skills. Incorporating digital age skills, I think, is something you will all agree with me. We are talking about online teaching, but unless we train each and every individual to teacher, unless we train every teacher to give at least a basic online lecture in the best possible manner and to make it effective, I think this whole thing could very soon become a farce. So I think very, very important. We have to train, and you have to train our staff. We have to empower our teachers, and each one of us has to undergo these programs so that we can effectively deliver whatever we are teaching to our students. Personalized learning experiences, encourage multiple devices. Again, compatibility in terms of technology is something also we have to address. So these are the things that we have to, they are not just best practices, they are also the challenges that we are going to face in online content delivery. Now this is, as I told you, that whenever you have a problem and you come up with a solution, and if the solution is it's the first time that you have come up with a solution, probably is innovation. So in any best practice, I think best practice is the next stage of innovation. So whenever you introduce something new, it is innovation, and the moment when it gets established, it becomes your best practice. Coming to the current situation, the COVID-19, I think there's a huge opportunity here itself where we could develop best practices in our own institutions in the current situation. So we have a problem here where we students are not going to be coming to the campuses. We are developing our own SOPs, online learning, online teaching. So within the current situation, I think there is a huge opportunity for all of us to create a practice, healthy practices, number of them, of course, and create some truly best practices which could be established and which could be benchmarked by so many of us. So here lies the next opportunity, and I will leave you all with this thought that whenever such a challenge comes, I think we have to take it as an opportunity to evolve, to devise and to revise our own strategies as to how we are going to meet these new challenges. So the COVID-19 challenge, I think revising teaching philosophy remains the next big challenge. And within the challenge, there is huge opportunity for each one of us as an institution, where we can call these practices as best practices also in future. I will leave you with this thought: hold the vision, trust the process. The vision is also here used. I think there is a multiple, there are multiple meanings to the vision. Your own vision, the vision of the institution. So unless our practices focus on the institutional vision, we would not be landing up anywhere. So whenever we do, we plan, we strategize, we devise something new, the key word, I think, has to be the vision of the institution, the distinctiveness. How am I different? How is my institution different? How are my students different? And what do my students need? If that vision is clear, I think the process of evolving a best practice becomes a very, very easy thing to do. And in fact, it becomes very interesting. And so this is the only thing which will eventually guide us towards developing healthy best practices, and best in the true sense of the word. So let's not overuse and dilute the word best. We have to think whether it's truly worth being called a best practice. So hold the vision, trust the process. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all over here, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really, really enlightening. I'm sure it has put a lot of great cells to work, and I myself have started thinking about the best practices and how do we change the definition of best practice and do actually what we're supposed to do, and not what some other college is doing and try to imitate that. Thank you so much for those wonderful insights. Our next speaker is going to talk on environmental consciousness. But before that, I would like to introduce the speaker to the attendees. Principal Dr. Sister Pearl of Sophia College, Ajmer, is a gold medalist in BSc Home Science. She's a dynamic, vibrant, and enthusiastic principal with excellent leadership and communication skills, a devotee counselor and a spiritual healer who conducts training sessions for programs, training sessions and programs for society. She believes in cultivating a conducive and a productive work environment for all students, parents, teachers, and administrators. She has written and presented many national and international research papers. She's a life member of many nutrition-related societies and associations. Over to you, Dr. Sister Pearl.
Thank you for that introduction that you have given me. And I wish to welcome each one of you to day 7 of the Faculty Development Program on Institutional Benchmarking of Best Practices. At the very outset, I would like to congratulate the organizers from DPMS Shri Mallikarjun and Shri Chetan Manju Desai College, Goa, for taking this initiative of bringing so many colleges from across the country to share their institutional best practices so that we can all learn from each other. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about environmental consciousness. The theme that I'm going to take today is environmental consciousness and sustainability. The two presenters who began before me have very beautifully explained about the institutional values and best practices. I thank them for their lucid presentations, which has set the tone of my presentation. I would like to begin with the words of Robert Swan. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Here, I would like to say that although we are talking about the 7th criteria of NAC, that is institutional values and best practices, and NAC has given only a very small amount of around 28 points for this criteria related to environmental consciousness and sustainability. But it is the responsibility of each one of us. Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
Yes. It is the responsibility of each one of us, of each institution, to bring this forth and to perform our duty to Mother Nature. To be successful to the core, it is necessary that an organization is integrated with its surroundings, taking care of environmental sustainability, not only within, but also around it. We realize that as educational institutions, we have the future of the nation with us. And it is very, very important as our responsibility to make these students as environmental stewards. The key concept of sustainability lies in making the best use of the available resources and saving them for our future generations at the same time. We are in this very crucial moment in history where life has been affected by the coronavirus. It is perhaps a time for us to reflect and to understand what is Mother Nature telling us. It is a time for her to heal and to come back to her future glory. Here, the best practice that we have adopted at Sophia Girls College is environmental consciousness and sustainability. As you are aware of, Ajmer is a city, a district in Rajasthan. When you talk about Rajasthan, you talk about the desert and the extreme summer and the winter climates. But if we take it into heart that we want to do something for Mother Nature, we can turn the desert into an oasis. This is a picture of the green lawn, the ground at Sophia Girls College, right here at the foot of the Aravali Hills. The objectives that we have taken at Sophia Girls College is to sensitize young minds towards their responsibility to Mother Earth, to promote our environmental friendly and sustainable models of renewable energy, to create an awareness amongst our students about better and eco-friendly alternatives to traditional methods of power generation, to enthuse the students by conducting seminars, certificate courses, and projects related to environmental issues, to create a green and an eco-friendly campus, to make our students aware and involve them in protecting the endangered species, to create a responsiveness among the students about biodiversity in the campus and outside by organizing visits to national parks and sanctuaries. And the most important, to make our students environmental stewards and involve them in creating awareness among the masses for the conservation and the optimal utilization of natural resources for the existence of mankind. Sophia College implements this idea of sustainability by making use of optimum use of its resources. The college boasts of a lush green campus amidst the desert, and we demonstrate our care for Mother Earth by, here I have divided the presentation into 3 parts. First, sensitizing our students. Second, making our campus eco-friendly. And third, organizing environmental protection activities beyond the campus. Firstly, we see here various clubs and forums of the college actively take up environmental issues in the college and in the vicinity. They celebrate different weeks, Eco Week, and they've taken the theme Panchatattva. They also celebrate Wildlife Conservation Week. We see how the students take part in the assembly. Daily assembly is the hallmark of Sophia College. And here the students take up different activities to enroll the students into the awareness programs and to help them to become aware. Tree donation and tree plantation drives are undertaken by different forums of the college. We take up tree plantation as a mission, as explained very well by Ma'am Vrinda, how tree plantation will bring down the carbon footprint. We have a special club, Nature Club, which is very specifically, it is involved in all the environmental activities. Besides that, the other clubs and forums of the college also take part in these tree plantation missions. Students grow, they contribute, and they grow medicinal, flower, and fruit trees. We have best out of waste competitions, teaching them to reuse and to make the best out of biodegradable waste. They also make and distribute paper bags and eco-friendly bags to the public outside. Poster making competitions and slogan writing competitions are a common feature on pooling of vehicles, sanitation, saving water, saying no to plastics, reducing noise pollution, and the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle, and the protection of the endangered species. Here we have a few pictures showing that our students have been preparing paper bags and also best out of waste articles, and they also went and distributed these among the people outside in the nearby areas. Here we have taken a very special campaign, Save the Sparrow campaign. Here we enlighten the students that these little beings, the sparrows, are becoming extinct. And so they planted the sparrow houses in the campus. 30 sparrow houses were there. And here we can see that this is the breeding season, and we have a lot of sparrows who have, they have made their homes in these sparrow houses, and they have laid eggs, and now they have bred further. We have surveys and reporting on the campus flora and fauna, which is a part of the curriculum. So the students, they go around and they identify the different birds and the different species of the trees in the campus. There are regular projects on water quality testing of the nearby water bodies, very especially at the holy city Pushkar, that is before and after the Pushkar fair. Students are also trained for soil testing. This is the Go Green, the Go Clean and the Go Green campaign taken up in the campus to teach the students to keep the place clean. They also go to the nearby areas for the same campaign. Students are taken to the Indian Meteorological Department, where they are taught different methods of the experiments that are done there. They're also taken to the local sewage treatment plant, where they learn about the different methods of treatment. A regular feature of the college is visits to various wildlife sanctuaries and bird fairs. Students are taken to the bird fairs in the city and around in Rajasthan, and also the wildlife sanctuaries, where they learn that many of the species are getting extinct. This is a picture of the students who had been taken to Nahargarh, an environmental sanctuary at Jaipur. The second important feature is making our campus environmental friendly. Sophia Girls College is a pioneer in using alternative and renewable sources of energy. We can proudly boast that we were the first educational institution in Rajasthan to install the solar water heating plant for the college hostel around 25 years ago, which has now been upgraded to 3 solar water heating systems of 3,500 liter capacity. This is the solar water heating system. We also take students for visit to the solar water heating and the solar lighting system, where they learn the mechanism which runs these systems. The college is the first educational institute in the district to install a solar power plant. We have 344 solar panels with battery backup, generating 100 kilowatt power per day for the needs of the entire college and the hostel. And I'm proud to say that nearly 62% of the power requirement of the college and the hostel is met by the solar power plant. This is a best practice because Rajasthan is never in shortage of solar energy. We have backed on it, and all the lights, fans, computers, microwave ovens, laboratory apparatus, coolers, air conditioners, they work on the power generated by the solar plant. We have 18 individual solar lights that are lighting up the campus at night. Here, by God's grace, we do not understand what are power cuts. In Rajasthan, regular power cuts for 3 to 5 hours is a common feature. But because we have the battery backup, we never experience the electricity shortage or the power cut, because thanks to the solar panels and the solar power plant. In the process of conserving energy, all the bulbs and tube lights of the hostel and the college were replaced by CFL earlier, and now LED bulbs and tube lights have been installed. There is a steam cooking system which has been installed in the hostel here, because we have the solar water heating system. So the water that is from the solar water heating system is generated to the steam cooking system, and it saves our fuel. And it is used for cooking food in the hostel for around 160 people in an attempt to conserve energy. A biogas plant wherein the waste of the hostel and also the septic tanks is led to the biogas plant in order to generate cooking fuel for the hostel. Students are brought to the biogas plant, and the entire process is explained to them so that they understand the importance of energy conservation. The invaluable yet depleting resource water is also well protected and well conserved via the rainwater harvesting system in the college, which directs the rainwater to the wells and also to a tank of 1 lakh liter capacity. Who can understand the shortage of water more than anyone staying in Rajasthan? For us, water is a precious resource. And so we have the covering over the quadrangle where all the water is directed to the 1 lakh liter storage capacity tank that is underground, and all the other water that is from the rooftops are also directed to the wells. The hostel is proud of the organic vegetable and fruit garden in the campus. Aerated drinks are prohibited on the college campus. Students and staff are encouraged to be eco-friendly by using carpools, bicycles, and public transport. The Department of Economics and Political Science organized a two-day international conference on water, a focus on future and innovation. This was sponsored by WAPCOS from the Ministry of Jal Shakti. We had with us the waterman of India, Shri Rajendra Singh, who enlightened the audience about the need to conserve water. The third aspect that the college very carefully takes into consideration is organizing environmental protection activities beyond the campus. The college organizes regularly the awareness activities for the masses, like rallies, marathons, street plays, to promote ecological consciousness among the citizens of the town, and to ban the use of plastics, use biodegradable bags, save water and electricity in order to preserve our Mother Earth. Here we see Run to Save Mother Earth. More than 700 students of the college took part in this marathon along with myself and the staff. We went onto the roads to make the people of the city aware that we need to preserve Mother Earth before any drastic steps take place. Awareness programs are organized in government schools. Our students, they go to the government schools, they put up Nukkad Nataks where they enlighten the students on the importance of growing trees. Here you see the boys of the government school digging themselves and also planting trees, telling them and teaching them to plant trees in their own houses, also that they should ban plastics. Swachh Bharat Abhiyans are undertaken in the campus and also in the nearby bastis to make the people aware of the need to keep their surroundings clean. The NSS volunteers, students of the Nature Club and different activities undertake these different activities. Also, cleanliness drives are held at historical monuments and public gardens to keep our city clean. People in the bastis are taught the 3 R's: to reduce, reuse, and recycle, and to make utility articles out of waste. Students also create awareness about the environment at the college assembly. Here we see the students, over about 800 of them, taking a pledge to save Mother Earth. Evidence of success. Our campus is comparatively pollution-free because of the extensive use of renewable energy sources. Hence, it creates a positive impact on the health of the staff and the students. The entire Sophian family believes that environment consciousness is an integral part of life and that one cannot escape from it. Some of our students are pursuing higher studies in environmental science. And most importantly, that some of them have opted to work with NGOs with a mission to save the environment. They are also conscious about saving water and electricity in their own houses. Problems encountered and resources required. The college motivates the students to use cycles rather than scooters by offering cash prizes to students who use cycles throughout the year. But sometimes time management is a problem, and also distance from the institution becomes a problem for them. Lack of full-fledged cooperation from students who are accustomed to a comfortable lifestyle often becomes a problem for them to come by bicycle. To allocate funds for the new enterprise becomes difficult at times. here, I would like to say that Sophia Girls College is one among the 4 autonomous colleges in Rajasthan. A few years back, the Rajasthan government withdrew the aid, and hence we are a non-aided college. And because of not getting aid from the government, UGC also does not give us any aid for developmental programs. So this is often a problem that the institution faces, the non-availability of funds. But this does not deter our spirit of saving the environment and providing quality education to the women of Rajasthan and also the country. Sophia College believes that it is the duty of each and every person to work to save the planet Earth, and education is the best platform. We have the future generation in our hands, and it is very important that we teach them to save the planet Earth for their future generation. Thus, Sophia College contributes to the best of its capacity in the environmental sustainability campaign of modern society. I began my session with the words of Robert Swan, and I would go on to say that we are proud that Sophia College is an environmental friendly campus. And I believe that if each one of us takes this up as our mission to preserve and to protect Mother Earth, then nothing is impossible. We can achieve the impossible with whatever means we have to leave behind for the coming generation the beauty that God has given to each one of us. I would like to thank my management for the support that they have given for every initiative that we have undertaken to make our campus environmental friendly. I thank my staff members for their constant support and all the help that they render to the institution to make the institution what it is today. I would wish to thank the organizers for this collaborative faculty development program. I'm sure each one of us has benefited a lot from all the 7 days learning from different institutions, their best practices. And if we hold hands together, we will learn to make this beautiful, the world beautiful, and we will all join to save Mother Earth. So thank you once again to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present the model of our college for environmental consciousness and sustainability. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, sister. We will be having a quick photo session. I request all the participants to kindly turn on your cameras. And I request the organizers to start clicking snapshots. Please hold the cameras upright. We would love to have some good memories with you. We'd love to see the wonderful attendees who have been with us for the last 7 days. Kindly turn on your cameras and give us a nice view. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. We're getting ready.
Yes, please go ahead.
Requesting everyone to put on the video cameras, please. So we'll take a photograph.
We still have one session to go, and we will continue with that. But prior to that, we thought we'll quickly take photos so that we have memories of all of you with us. Kindly turn on your cameras, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm taking.
Please keep your cameras on, live and running. We will just take a few more moments, a few more minutes, and I think then we can continue with the session. Please keep your cameras on and look directly into the cameras. With a wonderful smile. There are 39 slides that we need to go and click. So I'm sure the organizers are clicking it right away.
Yes, sir. I'm taking screenshots.
Yeah, please take.
Please keep going.
It will take time, sir.
Yes, please.
No problem.
No problem. I think Imran sir, while you continue to take screenshots, I will utilize the same time to introduce our next guest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the next session is on institutional vision and leadership, developing best practices. It will be conducted by Dr. Suhashini Muthukrishnan. She is a former associate professor and head department of economics and dean of social sciences at St. Joseph's College, Bangalore. She retired in 2018 after 32 years of dedicated service. Currently, she is the chief executive officer of BM School, ICSC, Bangalore. She was associated with NAC activities since 1997. She was the IQEC coordinator for the third and fourth cycle at St. Joseph's College. She was deeply involved in quality initiatives since 1994 in the college. She has been a resource person for several NAC-related training in colleges in Bangalore, Karnataka, and in other states. Dr. Suhashini is a NEN certified entrepreneurship educator and has several publications to her credit. She has presented several papers in national and international seminars and workshops, and also chaired many technical sessions. Professor Suhashini has been conducting several successful training programs for professional development of college and school teachers on effective classroom management and teaching learning process. She is actively engaged in NABET, that is National Accreditation Board for Education and Training, certification of the school, which is like NAC certification for higher education. With this brief introduction, I request the next speaker, Dr. Suhashini, to kindly take over. And I request all the participants to kindly turn off your cameras and mics so we can continue with the lecture or the session on institutional vision and leadership, developing best practices. Dr. Suhashini, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. A very warm good evening to our esteemed participants for this 7-day FDP program. And it is a long haul we had. We had seven, this is the 7th day and the last session of the whole program. I'm sure
Ma'am, we can't hear you. Hello? Suhashini, ma'am? I think she lost. She's there. Hello?
Sir,
ma'am, can you hear?
She's unmuted.
Yeah, she's unmuted. She's unmuted.
I don't know why we can hear her.
Oh.
Can I mute all and unmute her only?
No. I'll just get her in the spotlight.
Yeah, please.
No, I think she's not having video also.
All right. So,
Hello?
Oh, sir, she's.
Yeah, yeah, okay, 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 yeah, yeah. Ma'am is back.
Ma'am, you're mute. Can you unmute yourself, please? Yes.
Ma'am, you will start with the presentation, no?
No, I'll just introduce myself and then, yeah, I'll start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to thank the organizers, DPM, Sri Mallikarjun and Sri Chetan Manju Desai College in Goa for having taken this initiative of bringing so many participants from across the country and many who are involved with IQAC at their respective colleges. This kind of an activity really enthuses the people who are in charge of NAC at some point or the other in their own college. And a special thank you to Dr. Nada for inviting me over to share something that I can do about the best practices in my college. I shall share with you the role of vision and mission in setting the ground for identifying best practices. Often colleges make, when I have understood this, often colleges make a vision, a mission, and it is somewhere on the campus. But to let you know, after being the coordinator for IQAC twice during my own career in the college, I found that this vision and mission of the college is the best way to go ahead with the best practices. So I shall connect with leadership, the vision, and then go on to see how I can initiate, generate feedback about the practices that are happening, and then finally establish it for the college, which is the best practice that it can be noted. I shall intersperse it with many of the best practices from the other criteria as and when it can be done. Finally, I share with you the two best practices that the college was known for during the last cycle, that is the fourth cycle, where the college got a very credible 3.79 out of 4. So I would like to share those two practices. One is about setting up the Joseph Outreach Center, and the other is the Josephite Research Forum. Now, best practices, one of the best practices that I can think of as an IQAC coordinator is to go to the spirit of NAC. What did NAC want us to do? What did the NAC have in mind when it set in colleges to go for the accreditation? It looks like that we need to go back to this philosophy of NAC, where I'm saying that national development, fostering global competencies like being innovative, being creative, being entrepreneurial in an approach. I have a value system, because only skills are not what is needed for the college to be distinct. We need to imbibe or to inculcate the right kind of values, and then the socio-economic and environmental realities of the country, of the locality, needs to be made clear to the students. Of course, promoting technology and the quest for excellence is...
Ma'am, sorry to disturb you. Your presentation is not visible.
Yes, I haven't shared it as yet.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I haven't shared it. So I shall go back to the screen now. Right. So these were the values that the NAC expects us to do. How do we contribute to national development? Now, any of the best practices that we talk about should emerge from these core values of NAC. So if we are very clear about the purposes of NAC and the values of NAC, it encompasses the nation and its requirement. It also looks at the global competencies that we need to work on. So looking at the larger context of education, we understand that it is to bring changes in the locality that we live in, into the national level, whatever changes can be brought in, so that the lives of people are better. The students whom we who leave the college are also useful in creating the change that the country wants to experience. It is at this point that the college motto comes in very handy. The Josephite motto has been Fide et labore, that is faith and toil. And the vision of the college has been to prepare men and women for the service of fellow citizens, especially the poor and the oppressed. This being the vision of the college, everything else that this college does follows from this particular vision. To prepare men and women for the service of fellow citizens, especially the poor and the oppressed. And in this process, what has happened is we have begun to realize that the college activity is to be in charge of creating students who will be change agents, who can create necessary changes in the world that they will live in. And we think of creating a society which is just, which is secular and democratic, and therefore the education should be enabling towards these mission that the college sets for itself. And it has got its academic excellence by providing learning environment that is constantly challenging the student and supports ethics in the intellectual curiosity and ceaseless inquiry. The second part of it is to help us in creating human excellence through courses and activities that help students achieve personal integrity and conscientize them to the injustices prevalent in society. Now, when we look at the idea of best practices, we can see that excellence is never achieved by chance. It has to be a matter of choice. And when we say it is a matter of choice, when it's a matter of choice, we are talking about initiating a quality culture. This quality culture is something that everybody in the institution should be able to recognize, and they should be willing to accept it as a part of their daily routine. So we have all the stakeholders who are involved with this. It is the management, the faculty, the administrative staff, the students, the parents, the community, and alumni. When all of them are involved and they understand the word culture in some form or the other, it becomes easier for the college to start some initiatives on quality issues. And these quality issues, whatever has been initiated, has to be sustained in the long run, and finally it has a need for enhancement. This entire process of moving up the ladder of quality is related to learning. And when we say learning, there are many things that we have learned over the years. Mind, this college is about 140 years old now, and therefore it has got its own learning that it has been experiencing. But once the NAC idea came in somewhere in 95, 96, I guess we started unlearning a lot of things that we had probably learned before. And as we went along till the fourth cycle, we realized that we have relearned a lot of new things which were never part of the college earlier. And what has helped us in this learning, unlearning, and relearning has been the knowledge, the experience, competence, and values and attitudes of the staff, the non-teaching staff, the everybody involved with it. Now, coming to the indicators to this last criteria, we have three of them: institutional values and social responsibilities, practices, and institutional distinctiveness. Gender is an important issue that the NAC expects our students to be sensitized about, which means the institution itself must give importance to gender. Now, gender equity promotion includes gender safety and security, the common rooms and counseling places for ladies staff or gents. What I have found is that conducting programs for gender sensitivity can take two forms, and the first form is to do it for teachers and non-teaching staff, and then it is passed on to the students. So over the time, what we have been doing is we have been getting resource people, especially I found that it is easier to get resource people from the Faculty of Law, and they are able to provide us with knowledge about the gender dimension from a legal aspect in case there is something that requires us to venture into those areas. The other thing that has happened is the gender feedback. Now, one of the important feedback we collected was the gender feedback, and teachers have given a feedback on how they feel as women on campus, and they have raised, if they have raised an issue, how do we understand them and what provisions we need to make for mitigating that particular need of that teacher. It could be a snigger, it could be a laugh or a comment, but nevertheless, if it has happened and it has hurt a person in the college, then that requires some kind of attention. Common rooms are of course necessary for women so that they can be in their own place of comfort. And counseling, as a college with so many years of work that we have gone by, it is but natural that we have gone in for counseling. Now, environmental area is something that the college has started. Well, as far as environment is concerned, the first environmental course that the college started was way before even the UGC or the NAC suggested it. It was in 1986 that there was a BSc course started in environmental science, zoology and botany with chemistry. That set in motion the idea of protecting the environment very early, and much later it became very easy for the college to identify environment as a best practice. Environmental audit is done by the environmental science department itself, and so they have been able to calculate the carbon emission that is reduced because of planting of trees or of the rooftop solar energy system that we set up in 2010, or the wastage that has been removed. So the environmental science department is the one that has started off that work. Now, once environment became an issue like that, and we became an autonomous college way back in 2005, the first thing that we did, or the economics department did, was to introduce a course on environmental economics. Once that environmental economics course was done, we found that this environmental subject is something that all students need to learn. And with that, all the courses today in the college has got one unit of environmental studies in their syllabus. And we also have another interesting part where all students of the final year have to take a term paper. And we have seen that many of our students have taken to study about environmental issues at a research level, and even undergraduate students have taken it at the research level, and they have been visiting lakes and water bodies in the city and trees and variety of issues that the city offers to them. So environmental studies has become a natural part of the college, and it got extended later into something else like planting trees in the society and moving on. The lead bulb is something I think we all have made it now. The waste management itself has resulted in a variety of creative ways of understanding waste and avoiding waste. Now, this waste has taken the form of even examination papers. Now, what happened was that we discovered in course of time that students waste a lot of paper in their examination booklets, and that was quite a waste of paper. So immediately this went in for its own analysis, and we found that we need to give lesser paper to students. And not only that, we tied up with the ITC, and they came in to use those unused paper from the booklets and make them into books for giving it to the less fortunate students across Bangalore. And this was a very useful one. The other thing that we also did with waste was the e-waste. Now, e-waste in a city like Bangalore, we have plenty of it, I guess. And what the college did was we started collecting private e-waste, which meant that individual students could come and deposit their mouse or their keyboards or whatever they wanted, and this would be recycled. One particular agency would come and collect it for their recycling purposes. At the same time, whatever was usable in terms of, sometimes these computers are replaced not because they are old, but because they get, we may get newer ones with the research projects that come in. So these kind of computers that were available has been given away to other less fortunate schools where they use it very favorably, and that is how we have been reusing the computers that are available. The other thing that we also did was about reusing it was using of the old desks and chairs or books, and these have again been reused in some other places, which has been very helpful to those kind of institutes. Then the hazardous waste was one of the things that we found was in the chemistry labs, they use several kind of chemicals which could be harmful to the environment, and therefore they have they practice what is called as green chemistry, and they have reduced the use of toxic chemicals like carbon tetrachloride and chloroform, so that they reduce the damage to the environment. We have also seen that students have been a part of this environmental consciousness, where they have taken part in rallies and various kinds of movements and cleaning up public spaces and conscientizing people about the environment, planting trees in public areas. Several kinds of activities have been done in the vicinity of the college. They have in fact they have taken up a district where the district is also manned where for plantation of varieties of trees, so that it could be made into a green area. The interesting the other best practices, that these are all a list of things as we have done, and we have consolidated them into something later on. One of them is to start those courses which are interesting for students. In fact, I'm aware that last year there was a new course started with theater, psychology, and English. I'm sure there are students who would have wanted to take theater as a subject. So these kind of new courses, new elements are taken up, and these become a new practice, because when students are in demand for something new, then the teachers get into that particular mode of understanding those courses and taking it over. Another interesting thing that happened as a best practice at one time was the streaming of English courses. We have students from different vernacular, and of course not all of them can speak good English, but then it was necessary that we divide them into different groups, and with a diagnostic tool that was given in the beginning of their entry. And once the English courses was diagnosed into 3 classes, they were given special kind of teaching requirement for each of the classes depending upon the level of knowledge in English. And they used to get different question paper, but later what happened is they gave a same question paper, but students write it at their level of English, and at the final second year, they all seem to have reached at least good speaking knowledge about English at the end of the year. So this was something which has been very helpful for our students to learn the language. Another thing that came out of a lot of deliberations were about the mandatory research paper that all our students do in the final year. There is something called as a term paper. Students are allotted to teachers, and they, along with the teachers, find out what are the kind of topics that they would like to research on, and those topics are the ones that they take up. Practicals in mathematics and economics, and of course these were done on them. The other important practice that we did was to conduct the BOS online. Quite some time ago we started this, and in the examination we have question paper. Being an autonomous college, we are all the time in need of question papers, and we have had question papers coming in from different parts of the country. Wherever teachers have their contact, we have been trying to get question papers from all over the country. Then we also have ICT used in our examination section, where we have barcoding of answer booklets. We have the marks which are entered online, and they are done like that. So this has been very helpful in barcoding the marks of the notebooks of the students. In research and consultancy also, we found that young teachers are not able to, once we lost most of the aided teachers, then research getting from the aid funding agencies was getting a little difficult. And that was the time that the college decided to give them what is called a seed money for carrying out a research. Then we have, now why did I share these kind of small programs here and there? Mainly to show that there are a variety of research programs or best practices that have emerged. And when we found that these activities have to address either the local advantages or disadvantages, or they have to contribute to local community. So we were not clear of which one was to be more for the last one. So these are things that are available online. Conduct of handbook on the for the college, or display of core values on the institution website, organizing appropriate activities to increase consciousness about national programs, course on human values. This was something that we found it very interesting to do. We have been having these human resource development programs from a very long number of years. And what we did finally now is every class, every student has to go through a 1-credit course on human values at the beginning of the semester of the year, which we call it as integral formation. And this has helped the students from all classes, first year, second years, and third years, to have different levels of human resource development activities. And on professional ethics, there are guidelines of how we meet and what kind of meetings we have, and how do we do the research, and what kind of research and ethics are involved. This has been practiced. So as far as professional code is concerned, it is good for the colleges to follow all the requirements of the institution that has been given to us by the statutory agencies. Yeah, so this has been going on in the college, but these are not the ones that I'm talking about. I would come to highlight mainly how leadership has come in to play a big role in this particular developing best practice. That is a theme of my talk. When I say leadership and best practices, I believe that on one hand, we have the mission of the college, the vision of the college. We have leadership skills at different levels. We have leadership at the principal's level, at the teacher's level, at the deanery, at the heads of the department, and at the individual level. So all colleges have got these kind of leadership skills. So if we help in developing the leadership skills at all levels, it is one of the beautiful things that can happen to a college, where each individual is so unique that he or she could identify his or her area of interest and develop that particular area of work. So what we did was, in the IQAC, what we started doing was, we asked each of the teacher to take up interest in whatever activities they like to do. Some could be photography, some could be trekking, some could be cycling, some could be on environment, it could be on pet shows, it could be on wildlife, and a variety of interests that teachers have. By doing this, what really happened was, when we started the college, there were just about when I joined the college, there were just about 3 associations. Now there are more than 50 organizations or associations in the college with that many interested students in those areas. Now these have all culminated in some of the best practices in their respective departments as well. So what we finally did was, we asked each of the departments to identify what was their best practice and bring it to the IQAC. So when we found that all these 27 departments have got so many best practices, then this became a big area of research for all of us. We needed to find out how this leadership that they have shown in different departments, in different activities, in different programs that they have conducted, how we could assimilate all of them and come to some kind of a consensus. As a college, we found that this leadership give some uniqueness to the style of the college. And then we decided to examine all these best practices from the individuals, from the departments, and then to the IQAC, where the IQAC itself started analyzing the several best practices that came in, and we had to choose any 2 best practices. That was one of the most difficult tasks we had. How do we choose these best practices? Now, this best practices requires us to be showing itself into a very unique character of the college, and it has to be sustainable over time. It can be done in such a way that we can update it if we want to do that. And these are the kind of concerns we have about the best practices. So the first best practice that we have is what is called as the Joseph Outreach Center. Since our students and our staff are so deeply involved in social extension services, and we have a Center for Social Concern, we decided that we set up a center itself called the Joseph Outreach Center with a staff of its own who man the entire process for the entire college. So it was no longer to be done by individual departments. It became an umbrella department which took care of planning, programming for the entire students of the college of how they should be involved in extension activities. This kind of thinking led to further activity where what happened was that we found that we can give credits to students to, we need extra credits in an autonomous system. So there, this became an extension activity, became an autonomous, a credit for them. And all classes were planned with extension activities. So this extension activities, we have adopted a place called Manvi in Raichur district of Karnataka, where we have Lambanis and Devdasis and Dalit communities, and it is quite a backward region. So the college adopted that village in Raichur district, that area in Raichur district, and now all the final year students and the master's students go there for 1 week of rural stay there. So by doing that, these students come in touch with the reality of the socio-economic realities of that region, and the staff accompany them for 1 week, and this has been a great learning experience. Of course, in that context, we can also understand that the degree students, the first, second, and third year students, only the final year students go there. The first and second year students are designed with programs to be part of the city extension services. It could be cleaning up the and conscientizing the people about environmental cleanliness in the Lal Bagh or the Kabban Park, which are the 2 big lung spaces for the city. It could be acting as traffic wardens on in rotation for all the classes, making them people wear helmet, conscientizing on helmet wearing, and and then we send them to the orphanages. Maybe now in the COVID time itself, we can see how the college has woken up to that extension, where the college became a center for collecting dry ration and distributing to a large section of people who were left without it. So this became a movement, and many people in who are alumni of the college, faculty of the college, all of us donated to the college, and with that they could provide these resources to a large number of people. So this is how we found that this setting up this extension center, outreach center, gave an umbrella body through which all these extension activities could be highlighted. This was very, now we started off in a very small way, some programs here, some programs there, but then once it became into one unit, then it became much easier for the entire college to coordinate. Then infrastructure facilities for that was developed, buses were made, then teachers were trained for that, and like that we found that the entire activity became universally accepted by the staff of the college, by the student of the college. In fact, when students join the college, on the entry itself, they are informed that this will be a part of their curriculum, and therefore they should be willing to be, they should be ready to participate in this activity. So that's how that first activity happened. How did this problem encounter? Yes, we had problems in the beginning when parents were skeptical about sending children to a weak village and to live in schools or in buildings which were belonging to the village panchayats and things like that. But over time, once they were made sure that safety and security of children have been taken care of, and the teachers are going out with them, and they make a report of all of this and present it to the outreach center. Once this happened, then it is now an accepted part of the college, and it is just taken as every student knows that they participate in extension. These extension activities can range from food, from environment to teaching to cleanliness, any of these activities, to old age home, to educating, to a tackle fest where children from government schools come into the college and see how the labs work, or they can get to know how a college works. So these are the variety of activities that has come in under the Joseph Outreach Program. This has been considered to be a very successful program by the teachers and the students, and it is well partnered by the external bodies also. The second activity that we call as a best practice was creating another umbrella forum, because there are so many best practices that the college does that it was very difficult to choose any one of them and say this was the best practice. So the best that we could do at that time of discussion was, during the IQAC meetings, was, shall we convert all of them into 2 different umbrella programs and club the various activities that happen into these best practices. So the second best practice was called, or is called, the Josephite Research Forum. This Josephite Research Forum became a need because many of our aided teachers were retiring, and research and consultancy programs that were coming in was not very easily available to the young teachers who were joining the college. Yet the college believes that it has to invest in research, because that's how the college has been in its history. And to mitigate this problem of finance, what happened was the BJES, or the Bangalore Jesuit Education Society, what was done was they have given a seed money to the research center. With this seed money to the research center, the younger teachers could write research proposals, and they could have, just like how we apply for a major research project outside of the country, like the UGC or the ICSR or somewhere, the same could happen to these younger teachers. And these younger teachers present their proposals, there are debates on the proposals, and finally proposals are accepted for research. By doing this particular research activity, many young teachers have been able to take up research of their area of interest, and possibly in course of time, they would be able to convert them into major project or seek funding from different sources, because they are now ready for taking up research, having done smaller research project. But more interesting was something else. We were doing these term papers on a regular basis for more than 10 years now. We've been doing these term papers with students. The final year students write a research paper on any subject that they like. An economic student probably would like to, I remember an economic student probably wanting to write about the bicycle and how it was invented and what happened to that, whatever. So they could have taken about the lakes or many issues that they have interested. These teachers started understanding that students are having several research ideas, and we wanted to convert many of these interested students into research scholars, and also to help them pursue a post-graduation in research. To do this, there was something else that needed to be done, and that was to incorporate these students into this research forum. Now what has happened is, it started as a very informal meeting of the teachers, interested teachers and interested students to take up research. But eventually what has happened is, students are interested in research, and teachers have been guiding these students in carrying out research of their interest by permitting them to use the lab and taking it a step further. So these two were, taken as major umbrella projects, and they became the best practices. Now, let me just say this building of.
Are we coming to a conclusion?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the best thing that we have done is, we understood that there are no quick fix solution for ideating or for generating ideas about how to go about this research. So we found that the only thing that can happen with the best practices, it should have happened over time, and once it has happened over time, it was easy for a college like ours to make it into an umbrella program. So yes, I finally conclude with the distinctiveness of the college. So this decentralized participative culture of the college, with management, with different opinions, consultations, deliberations, and feedback, and the kind of leadership that we found, it has given a distinct characteristic of this college. It has been known for its extension services, and it is now known for research. Now, we have understood that creating a legacy is for each one of us, and each one of us have been involved in research or consultancy or as resource person for different program, and that resource legacy became to next generation to nurture the legacy of that college, and then we leave the legacy for the next generation. So St. Joseph's College for the past 140 years or so has now become a college for known for social extension services and for research activities. There are some wonderful research that has happened. At one time, we had several research projects going on at one in the college. So overall, what I find that we have been able to identify smaller practices, then convert them into bigger practices. And once several bigger practices came in, we used the SWOT analysis, and then we went on to consolidate these many practices that the college has and put them into an umbrella, and we divide them into two separate best practices. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope, yeah, we have come to the end of the program.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for those wonderful words, and it was really very insightful. And every wonderful thing that begins must come to an end. And similarly, we are nearing the end of this wonderful 7-day faculty development program on institutional benchmarking of best practices. I request the principal of Pune College, Professor Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh, to kindly propose the vote of thanks. Sir, I've unmuted you, Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh, sir.
Yes, sir. Dr. Suhashini Muthukrishnan, former Associate Professor and Head of the Economics Department and Dean of Social Sciences, St. Joseph's College Autonomous, Bangalore. Dr. Sister Pearl, Principal, Sophia College, Ajmer Autonomous College. Dr. Vrinda Pradeep Borkar, Principal of Dhempe College of Arts and Science, Miramar, Goa. Dr. Bhatia, Principal, Guru Nanak College, Mumbai. Today, we all are at the valedictory session of the 7 days faculty development program on institutional benchmarking of best practices, started on 8th of June till today, that is 14th of June 2020. Today was 7th criteria to know how much social and professional we are. All resource persons today really delivered excellent information, which will be very much useful and beneficial to the colleges. In the quality of education, benchmarking of best practices play an important role. Hence, this 7 days faculty development program organized by all these colleges provided an ideal platform to our teachers, principals, IQAC teams, and management to share and discuss the best practices adopted by different institutions in bringing quality in the overall progress of higher education. The faculty development program was organized by internal quality assurance cells of DPMs, Sri Mallikarjun and Sri Chetan Manju Desai College, Kanakon, Goa, with the Partners Institute, Parvatibai Chaugule College of Arts and Science, Margao, Goa, AKI, College of Arts, Science and Commerce, KLE Societies, Lingaraja College, Belgavi Autonomous, Shikshan Prasarak Sanstha Sangamner, Nagarpalika Art, DJ Malpani Commerce and BN Sada Science College Sangamner, Sophia College Autonomous Ajmer Maharashtra, Rajasthan, South Asian Institute for Advanced Research and Development Kolkata. Thanks to the patrons and advisors, Sri Ramdas A. Mazalkar, Sri Chetan Manju Desai, Sri K.B. Borkar, Sri R.D. Desai, all principals of the all the colleges who collaborated in this 7-day faculty development program. I must thank the organizing team, Dr. F.M. Nadaf, Dr. Harish Nadkarni, Mr. Iqbal N. Sheikh, Dr. H. Melina Mani, Dr. Arun Gaikwad, Dr. Manika Kannan, and the technical team, Sri Vivid Pavaskar, Sri Andrew Barato, Dr. Mithil Pal Desai, Mrs. Prajyoti Sawant Desai, and Mr. Imran Mirza. All the distinguished experts from all over India. I have seen thousands of teachers, those who are looking at those who were there for the faculty development programs, all the colleagues from various universities, our friends and well-wishers. What started off as some preliminary activity for this FDP for the month developed into a process of diverse activity culminating in what is seen as fruits that are visible today. It has been a struggle, but a wonderful experience for everyone. A virtual and online faculty development program, that too for 7 consecutive days. We are really very grateful to the principal, Dr. Manoj Kamath. We are really very grateful to the principal, Dr. Manoj Kamath, principal of Mallikarjun College, Goa, for bringing together all these colleges for this 7 days faculty development program. I must appreciate the hard work of the organizing team and the technical team. Thank you very much, all of you. We do hope to interact with you with a view to promoting greater involvement in the wonderful work. We gratefully acknowledge support of many educationists, researchers, and administrators in organizing this faculty development program. I convey thanks to all distinguished participants who attended this faculty development program physically and mentally with their gracious presence virtually. Thanks to all the resource persons today, those who have given a lot of insight about the 7th criteria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh. With this, we are coming to the conclusion of the program. I request all the participants to kindly stand up for the national anthem.
Requesting all the participants to please stand up for the Rashtragit. Thank you very much, Principal of Pune College, sir, for a wonderful vote of thanks. It was great meeting you online. We'll continue to have our association with you, and requesting all the participants to please give your feedback. You will get your certificates within 10 days. We will see to it that you will get your certificates by email. We have already shared the link. Today's feedback, certificates will come within 10 days. Thank you very much. With this, we will end the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was wonderful meeting you.
Very much, sir. Wonderful FDP, yes, sir. Thank you,
Professor Nadaf. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanking every resource person, those who are there today and those who were with us right from day one. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I think we can end the meeting.
So we will end the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aftab, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I have a permission.
Wonderful.